school district, somewhat of like a wish list in terms of what else we would like to continue to work on across all the departments and all the buildings. We have formed a committee. It is consisting of parents, community members, Board of Education members, students, administrators, teachers, and support staff. And this includes our PTA and our SEPTA to begin that process for us. It will start the end of November. And of course, our purpose will be to construct not only an updated 5-year plan, but also we will be looking at for the first time as well, a very clear and articulated portrait of a graduate. So what are those skills and competencies that we would like to have our student graduates own to thrive once they embark, whether that be college or career upon graduation. Okay, our first meeting will be November 30th. Myself as well as Dr. Miller will be chairing this committee. Dr. Miller, as you know, is new and overseeing our guidance department, and our guidance counselors are a major lead focus for us in terms of support for our students throughout their journey here in Sachem. And of course, our additional cabinet members will be in attendance as well. We will have an opening activity where we will review our past 5-year plan and all of the accomplishments, as well as brainstorm a wish list of items for the future. And we'll also walk through a district data analysis that will look at our strengths and our weaknesses of our student body, academic and social emotional, that will help us to also develop our portrait for a graduate. Following this meeting, following the meeting, we will also then break up into 2 subgroups, one that will focus on the 5-year plan, and then one that will work on our portrait of a graduate. Okay, so why are we doing this work? Because we really do feel like it is time to reimagine and rethink about what we want here for our students in Sachem. These will be our guiding principles for our school district. And again, we will well articulate the competencies and skills that we want all of our students to have. The 5-year plan will also stand as a goal-setting measure for our yearly Board of Education goals that we set each year. And all the guiding principles and goals will be visible in all curriculum, programming, and lesson planning. Why? Why do we need to rethink about what our students need? I mean, we all know, we've been talking about it for the past year for sure, but definitely upon return fully from the pandemic, students should just have different expectations for learning, clear and simple. Jobs, there will be new fields that we just cannot anticipate in the future. So that leads to learning that is not based on memorization or content alone, but also ensuring that our students have, again, strong skills and competencies so that as they leave us, they are able to really be future ready and to just look at any new learning and new information. How do you organize yourself? How do you make sure that you are using time wisely? How do you publicly speak? All of those different things and attributes that we would like our students to have. And then because of the pandemic, it has really pushed the need for individual planning, not just at the elementary school, but across our buildings K-12, so that we understand the differentiated needs for all students to be successful. So that was a quick vision. I welcome any questions and comments. And of course, if you are not with us yet on this committee, you'd like to join us, we'd be very happy to have you.
No, Mrs. Hines, let me jump in for 1 second and just talk to our student representatives here, Matthew, and the listeners. Can you just think about like one skill that you think you will need going forward as you move across college career? What's one skill you think that really will help you in that endeavor?
Social skills across the board, being able to talk to the professionals and teach the doctors about what you need and what can help you with across the board.
That's fantastic. Social skills. You nailed it. Good. Melissa?
I feel like independence, a lot of people rely on other people to have their information, but for me, yeah, I feel like everything is different around.
So obviously, we could go around the table, right, with board members and students, everyone, you folks in the audience. But once you both really touched on the importance of still being able to advocate for yourself, right, being independent. So those are the things that we need to look at and say, well, where are we instilling these things in our students across the curriculum? We can't just hope to have a Matthew member who can sit at a board meeting and articulate like this. I certainly wouldn't be able to do that where back in high school or Alyssa and her thoughts as well. So really important that we're able to do that and and make sure that we look back and say, hey, in second grade is where we're gonna begin this work. Or in sixth grade, when we do this study skills piece, that's where we're gonna instill this. Or in ninth grade, we're gonna go back and reinforce it. That's kind of that piece around portrait of the graduate. What is it that we are going to do to make sure that we are not hoping that kids walk away with certain skills, but we overtly make sure that they are embedded in what we do each and every day. And the 5-year plan as well, I've done this exercise with kids. I'll do this with a board member. Sorry, just close your eyes for 1 second. Ready? Give me something 5 years from now that you want to see in this district that we don't have.
We have so much, but
Yeah.
I think the way that we celebrate our students who are signing off on colleges, we need to celebrate our students in the same manner who are not going to college, but are taking it through.
Gotcha.
Continuing to enhance our Wi-Fi and we're having initiatives one-on-one, but to make sure people can connect in the buildings, that everybody has the devices that they need to go out into the world.
Yeah.
And the people know what
Kind of cutting edge technology, make sure that we're always on it. Yeah, I don't want to deprive the rest of the board if they want to jump on something. But certainly that's the idea, like, we call it kind of a wish list. I wish this would happen, not, but like, let's articulate what we want to see, where we want to see ourselves in this environment. And again, the old burden in making sure that we have goals, written goals that we can achieve and look back and measure and see that we're reaching them. Say, here's where we're going to be 5 years from now. So these are two really exciting opportunities and committees for the board and for the community. We have students on, staff, parents, administrators, board of education. I'm really excited about what we're going to come up with and how we're going to plan this out together. The portion of a graduate for me, really, when we put that in our profile for the colleges and they know what a station student is going to be and what they're getting, and when they get their hands on a station student, again, really looking forward to those things. So, Ms. Hines, thank you so much for that background. I don't know if there's a question from the board.
Can I just request, I'm not sure how you were going to send up, maybe just periodic updates, board meetings, whether it be like almost like committee updates or however we do it, what exactly is being talked about, maybe we want to explore something further, and we're not in the committees along with that.
Yeah, I know I should put that
I
on.
don't know if you can go over it. Okay.
Yeah, so much like what we do in terms
Of our presentations from year to year, so you can kind of know more goal-wise what we're accomplishing. We can certainly do that following our first meeting and thereon.
Any other questions? One of my goals is new mics within 5 years. Unbelievable. Like, I'm happy about the room came to fruition, right? I don't know if you noticed, we do window treatments as well, to kind of finish off the room. Thank you very much. It's miraculous. Yeah. They're not super fancy, but again, a little bit better than the metal stuff that we had. Again, trying to finish off what it is that we started. But we did order these mics, and I just keep looking. Look at Eric like holding a mic.
I don't mind holding.
It's frustrating, though. But they're coming. Very sorry, Mary.
I think this is amazing. One of the things that I would love to see for all students, because no matter whether they're going into college or they're going straight into their career, and I experienced this with my own child who's great at going out and getting a job, but then he comes home and I'm like, so how much you're making? Oh, I forgot to ask. When do you pay? I don't know. So like just real basic skills about what they'll need to ask on a job interview. And even when I was speaking with him, he was kind of like, I didn't want to ask that. So, again, going back to the social skills, I think getting them all ready, regardless, if they're going to college or whatever, they'll need to know how to sit and really, understand one-on-one.
I think about those areas that is going to be really important for our work. We have so many wonderful lessons and programs and activities, but are we directly instructing, and then do we have an activity where a student can practice that role playing of the questions and, almost like mock interviews, which I know we do, but do we do it regularly, or is it just a one snapshot? Is that something that we want to make sure that we are exposing on up? So I think that's what we're also looking at too. It's not just in a grade or in a class, but those competencies, those skills, if it's 10, 12, that we want our students to learn. Everyone's talking now? Yeah, it's working. I'll be really fast. But we just want to make sure that those are throughout the years of our students' experience, not just a one snapshot.
Those kindergarten months, I like to sit in.
Yes, you know what? Those will be the most fun because they want to be everything from a queen to astronaut to, who knows.
Well, the meeting is November 30th. Have people been contacted as the committee?
No, we actually, the committee has been chosen. We did send out to everybody that expressed any interest in it. So I know, Ms. Pickler, you had expressed, interest. That's why tonight we wanted to bring it forth to see if there's any other board members.
So that we can also officially.
We can also officially send out the invite.
When you get too long with it.
It does.
You know how to fix that, open that window right there, Derek, and throw it out.
Any board members looking, interested in sitting on this committee? That's the name, Meredith? We have a board meeting that night, so.
We typically start at 6 o'clock. And I would say that any board member, even if you can't commit for each meeting that we have, again, we'll be doing some updates, but you're more than welcome to, come in and out, so we will share all of the future dates as well.
And then the committee's getting broken into two groups.
To the portrait of a graduate and 5-year.
Do we have enough people from like elementary, middle school, like in terms of parents, teachers that we have?
Currently, right now, we have a little over 45 different members of the committee, and we felt like that was a large number, but again, we're going to be breaking up into 2, and we wanted to make sure that all the key leaders within the school district, as well as community and students were present. And I think we also mentioned too that Cabinet will be introducing student roundtables at all buildings, so the feedback from the students in those meetings will also help to plan for everything from our diversity committee, code of conduct, 5-year curriculum council. That really is going to be a major feat for us as well.
Speaking of the front, I know I had a parent reach out to me because I guess their child was chosen or asked to maybe be on the ground people. How are they being chosen for that?
So we sent out specific instructions about sending out something to all the students in the building, and then asking for just,
We don't want,
stop pressing that button. We don't want just the honors or.
we really want to make sure that all the different types of students.
Just try something else.
I know, this one isn't working either.
Yeah, another one working?
This one working on that?
No.
We just want a whole mix of students. Okay.
We're almost
Second?
Just to add to what you were saying before about the skills that Meredith brought up, maybe some kind of, I don't know if it would be a class, but a club of self-advocacy. Because I feel like specifically my one son does not know how to speak up for himself whatsoever. He's going to be embarrassed by this. But I notice also with his friends, they're always asking the parent to do it for them, even though they're a little bit older, maybe pandemic related, who knows. But, I don't know if we were ever taught to advocate for ourselves in school.
But I also think too, that this committee is to not just push skills on the students, it's also to say, your child may never be okay with publicly speaking and advocating, but there's other ways to advocate that they may feel more comfortable with, letter writing, calling, going to meetings and just being present in terms of hearing and, giving feedback. So, but I will note that down, and we've certainly gotten a lot of feedback of other items that people want us to look at, so we're just going to keep that running list and bring it to the committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hines. The next piece is also Ms. Hines, so get that mic back. And I know you've been doing work with our middle school principals around 8th grade trip, and you have an overall announcement about next year at trips, or later this year at trips, right?
Correct. I did send to both you and the board an update in terms of thoughts for 8th grade trip this year.
You're gonna have.
We'll have to return
Yeah. Sean and I are just gonna squeeze in.
We were originally looking at, this is a good one. We were originally looking at a Broadway play, but because of the size of 2 of our schools, the number of students that can attend post-pandemic, where they've literally taken physical seating out of the theaters, prohibited us from that. So the same tour guide suggested that we do a boat trip around New York City Harbor, so they can see all the different sites. There will also be a full luncheon and a dance. And I also was reminded as we talked through this, that this is the year that those 5th graders, when they were in 5th grade, were not able to go on that boat trip. So I think it will be a really nice thing for them to be able to do anyway, because the tour had suggested at first that we break up the schools, but given the climate of the city, not really sure that that was a safe choice. So that is the recommendation, and we're just waiting to hear some final numbers in terms of that. But moving forward, no matter what, we are going to form a committee at the middle school consisting of PTA members, community members, teachers, and students, so that we can take a look at all middle school trips 6 through 8, and just make sure we're all on the same page in terms of what the students want and what's accessible, finance-wise, what have you. So we'll be making a presentation on that once we get the committee rolling and going.
Any questions from the board? Just the 8th grade trip, that one play, and an accent for 20. Where do the middle schools live? Very student went on that. Many seats we need that one.
So Seneca, for example, with not only just the students, but the chaperones could be well over 375. So, you don't want to go on, perhaps students won't come. You always want to plan for making sure that we have all the seats that we need, and Sagamore was just a little over that as well.
Is there any other theaters that accommodate that number?
Not to date, and there was one, I believe it was Wicked, but the price was something that we felt was just irresponsible to ask parents to put money up for a play. But we really do think that the boat trip is going to be something that the students are going to look forward to. Again, they didn't have it in the 5th grade. So with the blessing, if everyone, is okay with that, then we'll start to put feelers out for the students and families.
Questions?
So it sounds great, and for my actual 5th grade trip, we were supposed to go to Statue of Liberty, and whoever planned it didn't realize she was under construction. So we ended up going to the Twin Towers and having lunch, and if not for that, I would have never been in the Twin Towers. So sometimes things all happen for a reason. I think it's great that we found something that would accommodate all of them at the same time. As you mentioned, the climate of the city is a little different now than it had been in past years. If the majority of parents don't feel like they want the kids to go to the city, what else are we looking into?
So we still have our trip to Jones Beach, the outdoor adventure park, and we're still going to have the end of the year carnival and dance or what have you. I know we've talked about other trips in the past that may not be a large group excitement memorable, but we were looking at Topgolf, things along those lines. We also looked at Camisette. I think our backup plan is something that we would have to adjust and look at if we do find that a lot of the responses from the families is that they don't feel comfortable sending the students. But that's why we want to get it out ASAP, because we do need to solidify the trip before payment and everything is, too late for the schools.
I think one of the things we'll do is put feelers out to the community in terms of the 8th grade.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone is okay with it, we could start as of tomorrow to, send information out.
Get some feedback on that. Stephanie?
I was on the committee to plan the boat trip for 5th grade. My son was the last one to go, and then the pandemic hit. It's slightly into the city, and I think parents need to know that you're not going into the city to get to the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, correct.
You're
And you don't leave the
actually
boat.
leaving Queens. Yeah, so you're going. It's a Long Island.
Really
You're
not
technically always on the island. Yeah.
It's a bus to a boat, so that's a good point. We can make sure that the information going out is that the students aren't going to be in the city. We're just literally trailing around. We're going to Statue of Liberty, Brooklyn Bridge. Yeah.
They lost the pier.
Bree?
I was just gonna say, they're not really going through Manhattan, they're really just going
Mhm.
bus to boat, and then everything is happening on the boat, and then they're going back to the boat.
If we went to Broadway, obviously, we would have been in the city.
Yeah. Any other questions up here? And obviously this would be for this year, but where the next committee's gonna look at trips for next year as well.
Yes, so we're gonna actually convene that in the springtime, once we have this trip all set and ready. We're looking at possibly March. It's not really a major month where we have a lot going on. So we would hope to have some recommendations by the end of the school year for next year.
Any questions? Cesar?
So this committee, this will work out. This committee is looking at those trips that we talked about will be celebratory for the entire grades that celebrate their advancing education, 8th grade, 7th grade. That's what this committee is.
Well, I would also put out there that we were talking about the educational trips as well. So this work committee has conversation around both those pieces. We'll have our curriculum folks there, our teachers, but we'll have our parents and students there as well. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I was going to say that I don't want this to stifle specific educators from recommending trips that would be curriculum relevant to them, but that of course wouldn't be for everybody. So that was the sense of my email too, that I sent to the board, that, I think we should even have, college students who go to Javits Center, I think they go.
Yeah, the beauty show.
They go to the beauty show, and that wouldn't be obvious for everybody, so it would only be relevant to them. So I don't want our educators and our teachers to think that, they only if you recommend a trip, you gotta make it for everyone. If it's relevant to your curriculum, and you think it's gonna benefit the kid's education, I want you to recommend it to us, and we can look at it and go, right? That's something that, as a board, we can do. So that discussion, it is a future discussion item, we wanna think about that.
Well, we do have lots of individual trips, K-12, that are planned with our arts and ed money, but we can certainly put together a list of those different types of trips so that we know by grade level what classes are going. They more primarily happen on the elementary level, but like, if you're taking French and you're going to do something for French, obviously if you're taking Spanish, you're not gonna be going on the French trip.
Right.
So there's absolutely a place for specific content curriculum trips. But we can make that a part of it if that's, the will of the board. We can make a list of all the different trips that we're having at the secondary, the middle school level as well.
And I really think those recommendations should come from a lot of our educators as well. I mean, if you're learning about U.S. history, an opportunity to go help you, see where the Declaration of Independence was written and signed, or up to Massachusetts, see where the Revolutionary War started. It's valuable, really something that we should be looking at.
It's going to be really important for the educators because quite frankly, they're the ones that also chaperone. So their interest level of wanting to go on these trips, that's why I think we had a hard time with, Frost Valley wanting to go, but.
The day trips, we could actually review as parents. As parents, are interested in chaperoning, bring parents up here. It would be a long day, but it's invaluable. It's never an opportunity to get there. It's only, 3 hours away, Massachusetts might be a little far, Boston might be a little far, but, possibly, overnight.
I just want to make sure that the educators were clear that if they wanted a trip, they wouldn't have to say, I have to open it to everybody. That's not going to be the case. If they're relevant to their curriculum, they would keep their classes. Right? That's sensible.
We continue this conversation as we develop this.
I could add as well, a couple of brief messages. I was lucky enough to be on the North football sideline this past week when they won their first playoff game this year, so very excited about that. Their next game is this Saturday at 1 p.m. here at North High School. Also, East had a fantastic season, very strong season in East football. They struggled, they bowed out on this past their playoff game. Very proud of their season and the staff there and the students there. And as we are entering this season of plays and concerts and things, looking forward to seeing our students shine up on the stages, and National Honor Society induction ceremonies and shows and the arts will be front and center these next few weeks. I look forward to seeing folks, parents and students at events as well. I'm sure many more members as well. So thank you very much. And I believe that concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item F, the student board member reports. Any report from my student board members?
Right now we're still working on the food drive. We got a lot of boxes so far, but not over yet. Also, I believe we started meeting for winter sports. I think that's exciting. And seniors just had a trip to Mexico. A lot of people like that. That was a good trip. So that's all. Okay.
So are you finding that it's harder to get food donated Thanksgiving this year versus?
Yeah.
So you want to throw something out there, if anybody has anything to donate, to send in a child, help families.
Due on Monday.
Do on Monday? It's due on Monday.
Yeah, I think every school, I've been in, many of the schools I've been in, I was in Grundy today and Merrimack, and you see it everywhere. So I think if you can give, any school would obviously accept from our parents and then they put the little ones in the backpack and things like that. I'm very happy to make sure that we coordinate that and get it to the people in need. Thank you so much. Thanks, Melissa.
It's Steve Russ. We just met today on, food truck. We gave a group of girls that do it for perfect jobs. They set up bait today, $550.
What?
So that's, crazy news for us.
Already selling that.
Ladies cookbooks, right?
Cookies.
Cookies, milk cupcakes, students are baking, bring them in, sell them. And, these girls have so much room in their basement over to the house. That already, Monday, we'll start packing it up. And then the following Monday, students are gonna start bringing turkeys to families and pick it up from the elementary schools that are also, getting meat. So, along with that, and, yeah, same thing on sports, basketball team, obviously, well, right now, we're very excited to see what happens with that.
It's fantastic, you know, and I love that partnership with the elementary schools and the secondary schools and the high schools as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item G is approval of minutes. We have April 26th meeting, motion please. And Mike Israani, second, and Volpe. Any questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Out to any visitors? No visitors tonight? Item 3 is business items. We have a consent agenda A through C. Any motion please? And Slattery, second. And Stiglitz. Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 4, personnel, teachers, consent agenda A through L. Any motion, please? All right, Ms. Esternia, second, Ms. Slattery. Questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 5, personnel, for support staff, the consent agenda A through I. Any motion, please? Ms. Esternia, second, Ms. Bigwitz. Questions or discussion on any of those items? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Mr. Scuttle?
Yep.
On the agenda, the board has just approved the retirement of Mr. Al Hank. He is a senior garden district who has just retired on Halloween. So I thank him for all his years of service here as a security guard and also a supervisor. We also have Jacqueline Lorenz, a food service worker who will be retiring at the end of January. We're going to wish her all the best, but it's not coming yet, so congratulations.
If I could just jump in for 1 second. Al Hank was the first person, and that is Picarillo actually talking about when I first came to Central School. So, but first person, like, once I was greeted here when I pulled up with my family, come inside and I was superintendent was Al Hank, standing in the parking lot here. Opened the door for my wife to get out of the car. And a little emotional about it. I'll just end with just a really good guy. That's what I want. And a great fisherman. I'm happy I said that. Good guy. Thank you.
Thank you. We have item 6, contracts. We have consent agenda A through G. Your motion, please. Okay, Ms. Volpe. Second, Volpe, second by Ms. Bigwitz. Questions on any of the items? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 7 is action items for appointment of board committee members. Your motion, please. And Ms. Esternia, second. Okay, Ms. Volpe, questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 8, brings the field trips. We have consent agenda A through D. Your motion, please. Okay, Ms. Mary Volpe, second by Ms. Slattery. Questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 9 is donations from board member Jim Kiernan. Your motion, please. And Ms. Esternia, second, and Ms. Volpe. Questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We get a letter out from thank you, Mr. Camp, for that donation. Item 10, budget transfers. Your motion, please. Okay, Ms. Esternia, and second. Ms. Bigwitz. Okay, questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Item 11 is Committee on Special Education with the consent agenda A through B. It's recommendation on Committee of Special Education, Preschool Special Education, English. Alex? Grillo, second. Okay, prepared to vote. Questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And 12 monthly reports. Okay, and this is specifically the board committee reports. Any, Laura?
So with the legislative committee, we've been trying to get together that when we can all have a Zoom meeting. So I believe it'll be next week. I just have to touch base with Vinny. And then, we'll set up a Zoom meeting, but, everybody's schedules have been crazy. So hopefully next week, and we'll get an email out to all the members.
Great. Thank you. Any other, yeah, sure, you could, Ms. Bigwood?
Just to bring up that, we just met as, having a code of character committee, where there were teachers, administrators, Mrs. Shambetta, led the meeting. And we kind of read through the code of character. We had, everybody that was there give their input, questions, concerns. A couple of good things came up from one of our students that were there to kind of look at a great way for the students. You know, we have a point system, in terms of getting them to kind of work back to where they can go to activities and things like that if they have gotten in trouble. Looked at some pieces in terms of special ed were brought up. So we're gonna do a second read through of it on our own and then kind of take a look, come back and talk and kind of go from there. So I don't know. Yes, we talked about dress code, we talked about the IDs. We spoke about, again, the special ed piece in terms of some wording that was in there. And then the point system of when, you know, to get certain detention, extended detention, what the point system would be, and then again, how the students can, you know, earn points back so that they can start to attend different events. We had good discussions and great input again from the students and administrators. Again, a different perspective. I sat there as a parent, listening to administrators, you know, the teachers and what their perspectives are. You know, definitely looking at the code of conduct of how we can kind of build the character of our students, you know, create an environment of learning. So I think it was a good first meeting, right? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yes, definitely, and it also ties into what Mrs. Hines is working on in the 5-year plan and the Fortunate Graduate, focusing on a code of character as opposed to a code of conduct, where you want to be perceived at and looked at as a person as a whole, and that's where the dress code came in, and what we want to do with behaviors and stuff like that. So I thought it was very productive and interesting to see and hear the different perspectives, which I think is very important to bring to the meeting.
Mr. Figueroa?
Is the goal of the code of character going to be to replace the individual building code of conducts and that every building will be doing it the same way? I know a lot of the times that we hear from parents that, you know, this building or this booster in this building, is it going to be even, equal, the same across the board?
Yes, and that's what we've been looking and working toward even this year, especially with the ID cards. It's very concise and clear as to the steps to go through, involving the families, letting them be a part of it, and letting the students know as well. We spoke about instituting something like that, the dress code. We're going to take a look and revamp the dress code, because right now presently how it states it's not attainable. So we're going to take a look at that, making sure it's more consistent across the district.
I know Patty led some of that work already in
Yes.
terms of a lot of discipline pieces, especially with the ID, but we've changed things on the 3 middle schools, for example, right?
Yes, we've definitely changed a lot already, and even the draft that went out to the committee today was already worked on a lot to get through some of the meat and potatoes of it. So now it's listening to the students, and it was hearing more. One of the suggestions that one of the students had is doing community service and civic work, gaining back points and working with the administrator to do that. So again, that was very hopeful. Everyone at the table was very excited to hear about that, because it lends itself to everything that Ms. Hines is working on as a district as well.
Any other updates, Mr. Attorney?
Just to talk about the policy, in our packet Friday, I think you saw, and I guess Chris had spoken to Mary Ann. There's a lot in there, but it looked like a lot of housekeeping. I don't know if you had a chance to go through it. A lot of cleanup, so why don't we schedule a meeting yet?
It's not scheduled yet, we're working on it.
Okay. So policy committee is active, and like this housekeeping, nothing of a monumental need at the moment.
some of those policies haven't been updated in many years, so, things change and you have to change with times and be able to adapt to the needs of it today versus 10, 20 years ago. So, it's good that the committees are starting. The only thing I would suggest is from the board is that as we start moving forward, especially with the way the advisory committee, we start thinking about charges. The things that we think we might want to look at or work on, we can present to the board for consideration next year and following year, whatever the case may be. But, those things are gonna come up real quick, and we want to start thinking about it now. And the request is made, provide some feedback. That's it. The diversity committee, is it your first meeting today?
You want me to speak first?
Well, I don't want anyone.
Stephanie, your mic works, why don't you?
Yeah, it was my first time. I was extremely impressed. Eric presented a amazing presentation for everyone, and the amount of students, there was a 9th grader there. It was incredible. So I was very happy, and she can add more because being my first time, I don't know what to talk about.
Honesty is the best policy, always, I say. So this is our 3rd year, and this is the year that we're really hoping to hear back from the board a charge that you'd like to see in terms of our diversity committee. Merit's also on the committee with us. We met last week to start some planning around our Seacham Board of Goal under Dr. Pilateri's vision of our culture of care. And basically what we're looking to start and really work through is making sure that all students have that connection to our staff, our programs, everything that goes on, not just our students, but also our community members as well, so parents feel welcome and partners in the education of their children. So today was just kind of a warm-up. We're going to be handing out some slides around that vision to the board committee. And we're going to meet again in December to craft some suggested goals that we wanted to be able to present to the board as a possible charge.
Great. All right. Closing public comment? None? Okay. Board discussion items. Just last month, 2 of our board members, Stephanie and Laura, actually attended the NISBA convention up in Syracuse, New York, and we've given them an opportunity to kind of give us an overview of what they experienced and share some information with the board.
I'll start. We have to thank you guys for sending us. It was absolutely incredible. From advocacy to policy to meeting other school districts and administrators and providers and professional educators. It was absolutely incredible. What I wanted to share with Laura is a couple of things. We attended, it's a pretty hectic schedule, and there's a lot of classes and opportunities for education that 2 of us couldn't handle. So I would definitely suggest we send more people next year. There were multiple classes, like at 1 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, that we split up, but we still couldn't attend everything that was being offered, and there was a lot of stuff that we wanted to attend. So, like day 1, these are some of the things we attended, from position to legislation, how NISBA advocacy starts with you. What I didn't know, and I'm brand new, so I don't know a lot, but NISBA can actually facilitate meeting with executives and our elected officials in Albany. And if we ask them, they can facilitate in-person meetings, Zooms, whatever we would need to advocate for our students. They also did stress that we could form coalitions with other school districts and work towards similar goals so that there's strength in numbers. They have a virtual lobby day coming up. That's February 10th, and an in-person lobby day, February 15th in Albany.
So then if I can just interject, so I've had position to legislation, so I of course been up to speed about our resolutions and what happened. And So after I spoke, so many other boards came up to me and said, I had no idea that that's what that meant, or I had no idea that that's what that meant. So we exchanged a lot of numbers and it's about building, so they gave an example of a school district in a rural area upstate that proposed something or wanted something, but none of us would know what it was. But they built a coalition of those rural districts, and they had legislation on like sharing of OCs or whatever actually go through. So it was all about working and using advocacy. And so like we said, we're just one voice. But now if I reach out and we all reach out and we get a coalition of districts who all agree in bringing a local diploma for special ed students or training for security, like people didn't understand. So when they were on that meeting and everybody that was in there, Sabrina Outwell said that meeting was the worst thing. There has to be a better way. So, and they realized that, but this was the most active that they've ever had on Board of Education's getting involved in resolutions. And this was the most in attendance, like in Syracuse, there were thousands of people there. That we got closed out of sessions that we couldn't even get into. And then the adult education and community. So this was
I speak on that one
Stephanie
because I
can talk
freaked
about
out.
it.
This was incredible in Hampton Bays.
So it was Hampton Bays right now.
Yeah. Superintendent Lawrence Clemson and the Board of Ed President Kevin Springer presented their district's successful adult education program. And they had a grant from Suffolk County Department of Labor that paid for a hospitality program. What the superintendent out there said was they found a need in the community for employment and in the hospitality industry. And they partnered with OBI, remember the club? And they CBI. OBI's the other one.
CBI.
Yeah,
That's
CBI.
now been
Right.
over.
It's turned into a resort. So they found that they needed people to work out there a whole year. So through this grant with Suffolk County, $55,000, it paid for
a 10-week
program, 10-week program. It paid for the community got to go for free. It could be anybody from Suffolk County because it was a county-funded grant. They provided live, in-person interpretation to take away the barrier of communication because a lot of people speak a different language that live out there all year. They provided babysitting. They hired kids who are in the child development classes from high school to babysit afterwards so that they could have their parents attend. There was
so basically the point, there's so much of a shortage, waitresses, chefs, all these things. So Suffolk County Department of Labor is looking to partner with school districts who are willing to run an adult education program where they'll fund the entire program. You have the adults in your community sign up for a 10-week course. At the end of the 10-week course, 80% of the people who participated got full-time jobs. So there is such a need in hospitality is the one area. People, there are not people enough to work, as we see. Our restaurants are short-staffed, everything like that, but there are people willing to work, but they don't have the training or the tools or the money to take a course. So Suffolk County is looking for a district further west. So we have the information that we'll share with the board.
And they kept using us as their example. Like they're like, we're looking to move this west. If any district is interested, Sachem.
Yeah.
They would mention us by name. One of the other things that I want to point out is that you didn't have to take it to get the certificate with the goal of employment. If you were elderly and you wanted to just enhance your life by taking a course, they offered this. They also offered duck carving, which is for hunting. I didn't know. They offered yoga. They had their regular adult education, and then they had this funded by the grant. And it was really, really inspiring. They also invited, they had a few members of people with special needs, so it was extremely inclusive in every regard. So it wasn't only just for people who needed translation, it was every level, every community member could, if we wanted to go out there, we could, not that we would, pretty cool. But, it was absolutely incredible. So Dr. Pelletieri, I would ask you to maybe reach out to.
So it's just
Superintendent
something
Clemson.
that if you wanted to
Yeah.
consider, but they're gonna,
Even back in-
just a way to get the community involved.
Right.
Like a lot of times, we don't have our adult education anymore, but this was a way to get something fully funded, so it didn't cost the district any money, and offer something back to the taxpayers in the community who no longer have kids in school.
Right,
So
there was
it
value
was
in
very-
that.
And then after that, they just have all the vendors and all different things that we could go and see. The next morning was Marley Matlin, who was probably one of the most inspirational speakers I've ever heard. She attended public school in the 60s as a deaf child. Back then, they put deaf students in segregated schools. Her parents fought for her to get a public school education. All 4 of her children have attended public school. She's a strong believer in public school and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And when she said it, she said, I don't know when diversity, equity, and inclusion became a bad word, but it's not. It means giving every child, every student an opportunity to succeed. So her caption is, you have to have the courage, her parents have the courage to put her in public schools. You have to have the dream. She had the dream, she wanted to be an actress, when nobody thought, how, you're deaf, how could you possibly be an actress? And because she had the courage, the dream, she had success. And she's the youngest, 21 years old, deaf actress to win the Academy Award till today. So it's just something, when we think about our students and when we think about diversity and equity and inclusion, think about everybody. You want everybody to succeed, no matter what that success is for that student. So I think that goes along with our portrait of a graduate. Like, what do we want a CHM student to look like?
She said
And
one more
then,
thing that's, you know, it struck a nerve with me. She said, nothing about us without us. So for the disabled community, include them in decisions that are being made in things that will impact their life. So, that just happens to be, you know, something that hit a nerve and was, you know, important.
and then, just so anatomy of district goal setting. I was gonna jump in then, but this is exactly, so, and all these things you're gonna get digitally uploaded from Allison, all the slides. But basically, it's like, we're a 9-member board. So what Rob or myself or Sabrina or Meredith might see as a goal could be very different. But we don't know what each other thinks unless we all talk about what are the goals that we have? What are the goals? Work with administration. What are the goals of our community, our students? Everybody could not be on the same page, but if you collaborate and work together the goals, then you have it measurable by data. You can't just say, we want, you know, a pie in the sky, but there's no way to measure them. So you have goals and you have them measurable. And the addressing the well-being of the students, again, going back to what Erin said, at post-pandemic, we're seeing a lot of different issues with students, parents, families, like the struggles that people have gone through. We can't pretend that it never happened. So we have to acknowledge that it happened, reassess our goals, where we want to be, and move forward. And then that night, we had a wonderful dinner.
Chris, you were there? I was there.
Chris was
I
there,
didn't get any dinner.
yes, and,
We had great pasta?
great pasta, it was very unusual,
Yes.
it's like, it was like a cocktail hour, and then food just came out of wherever, I don't know where. So we found a spot, like right where the food was coming out, and we made friends with the chef,
She
who was a
invited us all
woman.
there. She wants us all to come. She would cook for us. She really liked Sage. One of the things we accidentally did, which is got nothing to do with we dressed alike by accident, completely
Yeah.
by accident. So we were walking around
You
the
guys
last
like a
day.
chef?
No,
No.
we wound up having the exact same print top.
Yeah.
And people were thinking we had a
But they
uniform.
thought it was CHM colors, because a lot of school boards all go and wear their school colors or have shirts made. So they're like, oh my God, you found a shirt, you school colors, we're like, no. we
It's
just
just totally by
wore our-
accident, we were running out in the morning and we looked at each other and we're like, it's too late, there's nothing to do about it. But, one of the things on this presentation, we're missing some of the, what we attended. So just real quick, I want to go through that. Laura attended the superintendent evaluation process, fair and unbiased. That was day 1. Day 2 is morning with Marlene Matlin. Then addressing the well-being of our students, and then anatomy of district goal setting. All these details we can email the board.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot. I mean, we sound excited, we are. There was a lot, and we were tired, but it was like we were sponges because there was so much information. The last day was conversation with the commissioner, which is where I have to give kudos to Laura because they didn't pick both of us to speak, but thank God they picked Laura because she went.
I went right in front of the stage, just so.
She was
in
full
case
advocacy
anybody has
mode.
any doubt.
I was so proud of her. I took video of it. If you guys want to see it, let me know.
Yeah.
But she really represented our community and our students incredibly, and that was awesome.
And again, I told her point blank, she still doesn't understand, she still doesn't get it. I went back at her, and then she just turned it around like a politician will do, and didn't answer any of the questions that I had, or didn't acknowledge, but I got a standing ovation, and again, after that, everybody came up and took station, we're on board with you, we believe in this resolution, you will definitely have our support next year. But, I thought I would be afraid to get up in front of a large crowd, but I wasn't.
She was amazing. Speaking of that, April 24th, 2023, there's a conversation with the commissioner where she's going to be at Heritage Club at Bethpage. That's actually going to be sent to us as an invite. I would encourage the board to go, especially if they want to have a conversation with our Commissioner of Education.
Doesn't sound like much of a conversation. It sounds like her just sitting there.
Laura had a huge impact. I have to
No, I'm not saying Laura.
No,
She but it's enough people keep going at her.
This was a knockabout Betty night.
No, but I understood what you
I still
meant.
don't understand why she doesn't answer our letters.
But she answered Laura. Even though we didn't like the answer too much, she did answer Laura, and that was what was so inspiring about it, is she had her ear, and the commissioner could just sit there and kind of listen, you know?
And again, other people that spoke, she didn't answer that back. She
Yeah,
had the
but she answered you
assistant,
and
the only one she answered back was me. So it was pretty funny, but,
And then there was board member individual rights and collective responsibilities and strategy for effective board meetings.
so the strategy for effective board meetings, I'll definitely send you the slides. But again, we could all have different ideas or different things, same with a superintendent evaluation. One thing that they brought up with that, so let's say you're evaluating somebody on 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. I could give somebody a 1, you could give that person a 5, they're only seeing a 3. That's not really accurately reflecting an evaluation. Whereas if you do it, 5 board members thought you were highly effective. 4 board members thought you were, like, it was a very different way. They said, if you're just giving somebody an average and somebody thinks you're great and somebody thinks you're terrible, that's not really reflecting. So it was just some different ways to look. But we have all the slides and everything to send you, and I thought it was great.
You could, yeah, please share that with Alice
Yes.
and get that. It's great material. I mean, I've gone to several of these mentioned, when I review the city. And you're right, if you don't get those presentations early, you get locked out.
Yeah, next year's is in Buffalo.
Yeah, I know, I heard Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the other important tips we got is never take the shuttle in Syracuse or Buffalo. The first day we were shuttling, second day we were a disaster, so the car came in handy.
Chris, just so you know, I think you're great.
1 out of 9. 9 out of 9.
Mary.
We love
You did?
Yeah.
I was.
Do we have a date for next year?
We do. Do I have them off the top of my head? I do. May 30th, 2023. Oh, no, that's a dinner. No, I don't have the date yet. I do have them, but I don't have them on me.
It's the last weekend of October.
Yeah. But they, I don't know how I don't know how long it is to drive to Buffalo.
It's 8 hours.
It's far,
Yeah,
okay,
it's a plane,
Yeah.
it's a plane ride.
yeah.
36 hours, it'll be 8 degrees and 2 feet of snow on
It's
it.
about an hour past Mary Kate School.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ms. McGurl?
Last meeting I brought up, writing a letter, although I know the chair will respond to them. Obviously, after last night, I don't really care what the public thinks, but I'm very disappointed. And now our community is nervous about this shot being mandated for students or staff, and I think that we should not wait until next year to advocate for this, but start advocating immediately and send this letter to Doug, who got reelected, and Jared Nelson, who got reelected, and Ed Flood. I think he has a piece of us right in Lake Grove area maybe, and send it to everybody, Alexis Pike and the governor and whoever, but, you know, we don't have a majority, but this is something that people are concerned about. And you know,
Yeah, I mean,
we have to start now.
I don't particularly know, I don't have a problem, whether we get a response back or not, I mean, they still get them, they still open, they still see. My years here, we very rarely get a response back. I think I had a response back from the formal once, and it wasn't a formal letter, you know. And we probably sent 200 other school issues. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem, if the board is in agreement, we want to put together a letter. I have no problem with, you know, maybe charging Senator, Dr. Terry, to put together a letter, saying that obviously we oppose the intent of, you know, mandated vaccines, especially circle around COVID-19, at this particular time, it's, you know, the fact that it's new, undetermined, you know, but I have no problem with, get ahead of it. We've been writing a lot of these things. We're going to 6 months.
Can we look at its statements, though, the governor's made, who said, she said she's not mandating it. With that said, I'm okay with writing a letter because I'm also providing autonomy, so, but I don't wanna, you know, write something that's gonna be ineffective if she just comes, well, yeah, you know, like, I agree, so. Can we look
Listen,
at
whether
that?
she, you know, says that she's not gonna do it, or she's considering whatever, just having a letter back to mine,
Yeah.
school district are opposed to it, the board you're opposed to it, we want to provide the students opportunity, and these opportunity to see.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Mr. Venator, maybe by early next week, Chris will be able to get something to the board to review. Thank you.
I think letters to the governor are great, except that, like Alex says, she doesn't care. And she doesn't have the power to mandate, so I think we need to really, you know, speak to people who do have the power to mandate. And so, again, that's our legislative committee, so I think we should definitely have them involved. And I would also think maybe this would be a great time to talk to other places about a coalition. That was a great statement that you guys made, and I think there is strength in numbers, so aside from the letter, which is great, I think we definitely need.
This initial letter, you know, and not taking anything away from the legislative committee, I'd like to get this out sooner than we can get it.
Yeah, no.
So, but in the future, I think absolutely getting the legislative committee involved in that.
Yeah, I just don't want to send them a letter. There's very often that we just write a letter and that's it.
I think it needs to go to multiple people. It
Yeah.
needs to go to,
It needs
you
to
know,
go to our
overall
army.
officials that represent, to Laura's point, you know, there is, and I don't even know if they still do it, but kind of Islip School Boards Association, they used to have a group of school boards that would get together.
Yeah,
And
last
kind of
year.
It's a really good group of individuals, large schools that specifically are in this area, share the same, you know, references us. Maybe look at getting more involved in that as well as maybe an initial coalition to work with them.
Right.
Gather some ideas and thoughts.
Yeah, we didn't get an invite to that, so I don't know if they met last year. Remember Allison, it was like around October.
Yeah.
I went and, then I sent everybody an update after, but I don't remember seeing one. It's the guy from Sayville. I know who he is, who heads it.
Fred,
Yeah.
Fred Lake. Yeah.
We're required.
Yeah, okay.
John Perdue.
No, but they said they did it, it was, past president of the, Fred Lake's thing.
Yeah,
So I think you can find that.
Sure.
Steph?
Can we make it maybe part of the charge for the legislative committee to attend lobby day if they can, and then, or be involved in virtual as a board with the legislative committee? The other thing I would say is because they promised this at NISBA, they can facilitate communication with our elected officials in Albany, and they said they could get time with the really high up electeds. So is that something we could do as a board, is reach out to NISBA and ask them to make these connections so that we're actually heard and get a response, in addition to a letter, because I don't mind the letter.
Yeah, absolutely, something we could definitely work on. I mean, I don't know about charging the legislative committee or the lobby day, maybe ask them to drive it home, but maybe a virtual one.
Yeah.
Sure, and then as the committee starts to form and there's dialogue, and certainly reaching out to NISBA, maybe we'll organize some meetings and Zooms, some higher level officials. Absolutely.
They actually mentioned that during one of them that we were in, that Zoom has made them much more accessible and efficient.
I'm
So-
guessing Jay Rona up in NISBA is probably the non-guest person for that. He's the lead counsel for.
Yep.
Mike, Sue?
They just find everybody that the governor doesn't have any emergency powers anymore, so she wouldn't be able to mandate it, but for the letter to for the elected officials, they sent them a state senate, like, and I think Dean Murray won too, so you'd be one of ours now, right? We want to get it out to them, and then hold her to a veto should they pass something like that, right? Because she said she would have mandated. So the letter would be appropriate as Alex pointed out.
So do you want to address the letter to them, or do you want to address it to the governor and CC them as part of,
Yeah, I mean,
decide what-
part of the issue is that it gets cold and kids start getting sick again, and she has a supermajority in the assembly, and she can get these emergency powers back, is what my feeling is. And then that's just right around the time that something like this happens. So, I would address it to anybody and everybody that represents our district at the state level. Plus the Department of Health, plus the Commissioner of Education, because during COVID, when we were having all these arguments and fights, and we didn't know who the heck was in charge half the time, let's address it to every single person who touched any part of COVID. Because one day she says she's not in charge, and then they said it, and then that's when we got confused that day, so we just took the masks off, because we just didn't know who was in charge. So we just put
All right, so Chris, you still working at this? Good. So, Board of Education future items, items? Anybody have any? The only thing I'd like to get on the, I'll put this out there, something I'd like to get on is future discussion items. I don't want that, the First Valley trip, kind of die someplace. I'd like to, maybe discuss, maybe making a back to curriculum-based trip, providing we can provide, other types of, field trips as well, differently how we do physics trips and how we do music trips and so on and so forth. So some type of discussion in the future, so maybe we revisit that, because I think a trip for some students is better than, one trip with me. So, I would ask if the board is okay with that particular discussion, and we could add maybe as a future discussion.
Can we add to that discussion item another option for what you just said? Like moving it to high school and maybe making it more inclusive if it's easier to get staff to go in high school?
Well, the issue that you have, and I don't want to have a discussion now.
Yeah.
Is that it's specific to earth science, it's specific to, geology of.
But ninth graders take earth science so that it would be inclusive of everybody.
But if you make it inclusive in ninth grade, you're going to have the same problem you have in eighth grade. You may not have any chaperones that take 30 people out of the building.
I don't know if I agree with that. That's why I couldn't, but is that a part B to what you're doing?
We don't have to agree with it,
No.
we're living it now, so,
It's more kids.
if we have more kids going, then more chaperones.
But they do it in the senior, they do have overnight trips. So if it's easier to do it, but I don't know if that's the case. I'm saying, can it be part of that discussion? Is that something
We
we
could,
add
I
on
mean,
now?
the
Or
discussion, I'm just putting it on consideration for discussion going in a lot of
Yeah, okay.
directions, once we have it,
That's fine.
absolutely.
Is there any part of that discussion, I guess maybe what we want to do is just get one of the chaperones who's to go, and the teachers who take the eighth grade. What did they do during that trip? Was there, I know they go out for the geology of the rock formation. What they actually did, why it was curriculum based, so that at least we understand exactly what the trip involved.
So I'm just asking for it to be put on to future discussion, and that particular point, we could have that discussion. Are we okay with that? Any other future discussion items? None? Okay. Next meeting is scheduled for November 30th, 2022, here in the boardroom. This particular time, we need a motion to go into exec session to discuss negotiations with a particular bargaining unit, investigation involving staff members being notified to the board, and any issue of a parent concern being notified to the board as well. Motion to go into exec session, second by Mr. Burrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Happy
Have a good night,
Thanksgiving. Sorry to step on you. Happy Thanksgiving. We're not gonna see you until after Thanksgiving.
Happy
And
Veterans Day.
Day.
Happy Veterans Day to Mike and Matthew.
I said it first. I said it.
I said their names.